Dear colleagues, let's start. I am Tatiana Govorushenko, General Chair of the fifth International Workshop on Intelligent Information Technologies and Information Security Systems, IntelliSys 2024. Thank you all for participating in our workshop, for your interesting papers. I am glad to welcome all of you to our workshop, but unfortunately online, not within the walls of our Khmelnytskyi National University. Fifth International Workshop IntelliSys 2024 is organized by Computer Engineering and Information Systems Department of Khmelnytskyi National University with the support of the public organization Ukrainian Scientific and Educational IT Society. IntelliSys 2024 focuses on all technical and practical aspects of the latest research and results of international scientists and practitioners related to intelligent information technologies as well as information security systems. The workshop provides opportunities to exchange new ideas, to establish business or research relations, to find global partners for future collaboration. And I hope that the workshop results make a significant contribution to the development of intelligent information technologies and information security systems in Ukraine. The program of our workshop includes welcome and plenary session today now, two sections. Section first, intelligent information technologies, which will take place today according to program from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Section second, systems of information security, which will take place today according to program from 2 p.m. Till 5:15 p.m. As well as awards and close ceremony, which will take place today from 5:30 p.m. I invite everyone to attend all the events of our workshop. I wish everyone fruitful work and interesting presentations. Welcome. Now we have welcome speech, and now we have some corrections in our program. And next speaker who will say greetings words is Professor Oksana Zakharkevich, acting Vice-Rector for Scientific Work of Khmelnytskyi National University. Welcome, dear Oksana.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you here. And today I have great honor, actually, to welcome and greet all participants on behalf of administration of Khmelnytskyi National University and on behalf of Science and Research Office of University. So welcome all participants of fifth International Workshop on Intelligent Information Technologies and System of Information Security. I guess these words like cybersecurity, computing, smart technologies, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and so on, these are not words anymore for us. These are technologies, and technologies we are using every day without knowing, without thinking about them. So my point is, here in this virtual room today will be working people who are actually moving this world forward. That's why I think it's a nice opportunity to discuss these matters, and welcome, greeting, have a nice and fruitful discussion, and let the workshop begin.
Thank you. And next speaker who will say greetings words is Professor Sergei Lysenko, Khmelnytskyi National University, Ukraine, International Program Committee Co-Chair. Welcome, dear Sergei. Microphone, please.
Okay, I see. Hello, colleagues. I'm very happy to once more, see you here. And I suppose that in these difficult times, we will not stop, not surrender, but go on, do our best in all our aspects of our life, and of course in scientific direction. So let us have a fruitful walk and good luck.
Thank you, Sergey. And next speaker who will say greetings first is Dr. Елизавета Гнатюк, Khmelnytskyi National University, Ukraine, Organizing Committee Co-Chair. Welcome, Елизавета.
Dear colleagues, we are pleased to welcome you to our workshop. I wish all of us interesting presentation and discussions. We are grateful to our Army for the opportunities engaged in scientific and education activity. I hope you are safe. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you, Елизавета. Great, thanks. And now we will have the following presentation about IntelliSys 2024 trends. I am a speaker. Now I will share my presentation. Fifth International Workshop on Intelligent Information Technologies and Systems of Information Security, IntelliSys 2024, is organized by Computer Engineering and Information Systems Department of Khmelnytskyi National University with the support of the public organization Ukrainian Scientific and Educational IT Society. Our fifth international workshop IntelliSys 2024 is dedicated to the upcoming 20th anniversary of Computer Engineering and Information System Department at Khmelnytskyi National University. The IntelliSys 2024 was originally planned to have a physical location, Khmelnytsky, Kamenetska Street 112, building number 1 of Khmelnytskyi National University. However, Russia's war against Ukraine, which began on February 24, 2022, thwarted all plans. So, unfortunately, now this event is conducted remotely in video conferencing format using the Zoom platform. For the 5th year in a row, we have a situation where we can't meet live, but have to use only online communication. I believe that Ukraine will win, and next year we will definitely meet live in Khmelnytsky, a picturesque city of the book, at our native Khmelnytskyi National University. I offer a moment of silence to honor the memory of all the dead civilian and military Ukrainians. Thank you. We remember everyone who died in the Russian-Ukrainian war. And now we would like to thank the armed forces of Ukraine for providing security to perform this work. This work has become possible only because of the resilience and courage of the Ukrainian army. Thank you for being alive and for living in a free and unconquered Ukraine. General chairs of the 5th International Workshop on Intelligent Information Technologies and Systems of Information Security are me, Professor Tatiana Gorushenko, Khmelnytskyi National University, and Professor Oleg Savenko, Khmelnytskyi National University. Chairs of the International Program Committee are Professor Sergey Lysenko, Khmelnytskyi National University, and Dr. Peter Popov, City University of London, United Kingdom. And organizing committee chairs are Professor Alexander Barmak, Khmelnytskyi National University, Ukraine, and Dr. Елизавета Гнатюк, Khmelnytskyi National University. International Program Committee has 27 members. 100% of the IntelliSys 2024 International Program Committee members have more than 15 DBLP papers. There are the representatives of 6 Ukrainian universities and of 12 universities from around the world. United Kingdom, USA, Austria, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Egypt, Poland, and Estonia. Fifth International Workshop in the Lycees 2024 received 65 papers from Ukraine and the world. All papers were evaluated by 2 or 3 reviewers. Based on the reviews, a rating of papers was compiled. Papers with a positive average scores were accepted for presentation at the workshop. According to the decision of the International Program Committee, 28 papers were accepted for presentation at the workshop. In the Lycees 2024, joint scientists from Ukraine, United Kingdom, USA, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Austria, Poland, Estonia, Egypt, Algeria, Lithuania, Serbia, etc. In general, the representatives from 20 universities around the world and 19 Ukrainian universities, summary 39 institutions took part in the workshop. On the slide, you can see a list of universities from around the world and list of Ukrainian universities, the representatives of which will take part in our workshop. So, final acceptance rate is 43%. I wish everyone fruitful work and interesting presentations. Welcome. We invite all guests and participants of the workshop to take part in the discussion at section session. And now we will have a section of intelligent information technologies, which will take place according to program till 2 p.m. Moderator of first part of first section is me. Dear colleagues, let's start. Our first presentation is the creation of supply chain management methods based on multi-agent systems and meta-heuristics by Evgen Fedorov, Olga Nechiporenko, Oleg Grigor, and Marina Leshchenko. Who is speaker? Evgen, yes. Welcome, Evgen. I'm sorry, we have the rules, 10 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for Q&A sections for questions and answers. 15 minutes for one speaker. Welcome, Evgen. We see your screen, but not hear you.
Creation of supply chain management methods based on multi-agent systems and meta-heuristics. Motivation and state of the art. Next slide. Okay.
Yes, okay.
Currently, one of the areas of logistics is supply chain management. Within the direction, artificial intelligence methods are actively used for forecasting, classification, and clustering. Also, for the supply chain management process, the interaction between the participants plays an important role, which can be modeled using a multi-agent system. Interactive sites of sellers, for example, online stores, are usually not intended for interactions with suppliers, and in particular, for holding a combination among them. Therefore, multi-agent technologies are currently becoming widespread, allowing for the selection of supplies. Currently, the most preferred protocol for the interaction between the seller agent and supplier agent as a contract net protocol, which is implemented in multi-agent environments. To improve efficiency, the sales assignment of orders to selected suppliers should rely on optimization techniques. To quickly find a quasi-optimal solution to optimization problems and reduce the probability hitting a local extreme meta heuristic or modern heuristic are used. One of the popular meta heuristic is evolutionary meta heuristics. Among them, we can highlight a genetic algorithm that allows solving combination optimization problems, for example, assignment problem. Purpose and objectives of the research. Purpose of the researchers is to increase the efficiency of selecting product supplies and assigning orders to them based on multi-agent system and meta-heuristic. Objectives of the research. Conduct an analysis of existing multi-agent system and optimization methods aimed at optimizing the assignment of orders within the framework of supply chain management. Create a multi-agent method for selecting product supplies. Create a multi-agent meta-heuristic method based on a genetic algorithm to solve the assignment problem. Perform a numerical study. Multi-agent method for selecting product supplies. Product supplier characteristics. The paper highlights the following characteristic of product supplies. Cause of patient product grade, whereas from high quality to low quality products, it is possible to indicate a list of manufacturing companies. The distance between the seller and the supplier products warehouse, conditions for the delivery of products, pick up by the seller, delivery to seller's warehouse, direct delivery to consumers, and is guaranteed if the delivery is carried out by the supplier. Lead times for orders, the minimum batch size of product purchased from supplier, the period for which the batch should be measured, terms of payment, no advance payment, work on credit, provision of installment or lock thereof, and need to make a secure deposit. The availability and organization is the supply quality management system. The ability of supplier to service supplied equipment with smart parts throughout its entire service life. The supplier's connections with respectable organizations, the number of years of the supplier existence in the market of products and services, the availability of product certificates, the availability of discounts and conditions for their granting, the frequency of products delivered to the supplier, providing notification about product updates, providing notification about changes in products prices, providing notice of termination of supply of certain products, terms of return, the exchange of defective products, terms for the return or exchange of liquid products, the range of products wide or narrow. This characteristic is learned from product suppliers in the process of interaction with them. Interaction protocol between the seller and suppliers. Today, the interaction of the seller with suppliers is integrated through a multi-agent system. In Mason, the online store and suppliers are represented by the respective agents. The most effective protocol for interaction between them is a contract net. However, the standard contract net is abstract, is nature, is not focused on a specific subject area, and does not provide full stages of interaction. Therefore, in order to select product supplier based on an interactive competition, a modified contract net protocol is proposed, which includes the following stages: problem identification for the supplier of the products, problem announcement, proposal, contract conclusion, problem solving, declaring further cooperation. And the problem identification stage, the sales agent determines based on the product sales forecast and inventory control that he needs products to sell. The certain agent understands that he needs products of a certain quality in certain terms, etc. As a problem announcement stage, selling agent informs the supplying agent about his problem and also makes a demand on them. If the selling agent does not know about certain characteristics of the supplying agents, then he is forced to send a message to all the supplying agents. If the selling agent knows which supplying agents are possible candidates, then he can send a limited message to only those candidates. If the selling agent knows exactly which supplying agent is the appropriate one, then he can send a message to the specific supplying agent. At the proposed stage, the supplying agent, aware of the problem, evaluate it relative to their own characteristic, whether they can solve it quickly, and whether they can satisfy the requirements of the selling agent. If the problem can be solved by the supplying agent, then the supplying agent makes a proposal to the selling agent. The proposal specifies the characteristic of the provider agent that are associated with solving this problem. A selling agent may receive many such proposals in response to a single problem announcement. In the contract conclusion stage, when on the characteristic as a supplying agent contained in the proposal, the selling agent selects the most suitable supplying agent to solve the problem. The selling agent announces his choice to the selected supplying agent through a message about the conclusion of the contract. The selected supplier agent take responsibility for solving the problem. At the problem solving stage, supplier agent implements the solution to the problem. Once the problem is resolved, the supplier agent sends a message to the selling agent. At the stage of declaring further cooperation, the selling agent informs about the prospects for further cooperation with the supplying agent based on the results of their section to the problem. Methods of forming requirements for supplies in the work for the proposed stage. A method has been created for generating requirements for supplies based on the following logical formula rules. Methods for analyzing supply characteristics. In other words, for the contract conclusion stage, a method has been created for analyzing the characteristics of supplies based on the following logical formula rules. Method to evaluate supplies based on the performances work for the stage of declaring further cooperation. A method has been created for evaluating supplies based on the results of their work based on the following logical forms rules. What metric heuristics methods for assigning orders to product supplies is an unequal number supplies and orders. The fitness function is the case of generalized assignment problem with equal weight and equal budget is defined as the genetic algorithm with dynamic parameters and natural genes consists of the following steps: initialization, set iteration number, reproduction to create an intermediate population, crossing over natural genes to create an intermediate population, mutation over natural genes to create an intermediate population, combine the current and immediately population into one population, reduction of combined population, determine the base chromosome based on the target function, determination of global base chromosome, update probability, termination condition. Experiments and results. The numerical study of the proposal optimization method was carried out using the Python package in the Google Colab environment. In the working population size in the maximum number is or iteration is the number of crossing over iteration is the number of mutation iteration is the minimum and maximum probability values are for assignment problem. The search for a solution was carried out on the standard database. The decrease in probability function is determined by the formula. The decrease in probability function, the dependence of the decrease in probability of the iteration number shows the probability decrease with increase the iteration number for the assignment problem. The search for the solution was carried out on the standard database. Discussion. Advantage of the proposed methods. The proposed reproduction operator can be used as both the initial and the final stages of the genetic algorithm, since the early stages of the genetic algorithm equiparable selection is used, ensuring the exploration of the entire search space. And the final stages, proportional selection is used, making the search directed. The proposed crossover operator can be used as both the initial and the final stages of the genetic algorithm, since outbreeding is used as the early stages of the genetic algorithm, which ensures the exploration of the entire search space, and the final stages inbreeding is used, making the search directed. The proposed mutation operator can be used at both the initial and the final stages of genetic algorithm, since at the early stages of the genetic algorithm, the probability of mutation is high, which ensures exploration of the entire search space. And the final stages, the probability of mutation is low, which makes the search directed. The proposed method is superior to the classical methods in terms of accuracy and speed. Conclusions. A multi-agent method for selection product supplies was developed, which automates the selection of supplies and speeds up the decision-making process for the seller. The developed method includes determining the characteristic of product supplies, creating a protocol for interaction between the seller and suppliers, developing methods for forming requirements for supplies, analyzing the characteristics of supplies, and evaluating supplies based on the results of the work. The proposed meta-heuristic method for assigning work is product supplies through the use of dynamic parameters makes it possible to increase the accuracy and speed of this method and ensure its convergence. Prospects for further research as a study of the proposed method for a wide class of artificial intelligence problem. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, dear Evgen. Dear colleagues, questions, please. Questions, please. I have one question. What are the next steps and prospects for your research?
Which next step?
Yes, next steps and prospects for your research.
Our research create a decision making system for logistics and on base on multi-agent systems. Multi-agent system based on meta-heuristic, neural network, and expert system.
Thank you. Some questions, please. No questions. Okay. Thank you, dear Evgen. Our second presentation is applying the clustering technique and gen ontology analysis for gene expression data processing by Sergey Babichev, Maxim Korobchensky, Mikhailo Rudenko, and Hanna Batem. Sergey is speaker, yes?
Yes, I am here. I would like to present my slide. Share screen. Okay.
Yes, we can see. Okay.
Yes. I would like to present the results of our current research regarding applying the cluster technique and gene ontology analysis for gene expression data processing. Firstly, actuality of the problem and importance of big cluster analysis and gene ontology analysis for solving our task. Our current research focused to process gene expression data in order to create diagnosis system of complex disease. Gene expression data is a big data. Each object can be characterized by tens of thousands genes. And it's necessary to allocate useful information from data, and which information should correspond the higher accuracy of the object, appropriate object diagnostics. Big cluster analysis in this case has emerged as a pivotal technique for in processing gene expression data, underlining its significance in contemporary bioinformatics research. Big cluster analysis allows us to allocate mutually correlated row and columns. Instead, classical cluster analysis allow us to allocate only rows or only columns. This is main difference of these technologies. Main problem of big cluster analysis successful application. Large number of big clusters. From big data, such as gene expression data, we can allocate larger than 50 big clusters. And each big clusters contain some useful information, and we should this information allocate. Gene ontology in bioinformatics. Ontology play a critical role in the modern bioinformatics ecosystem by formalizing the representation of knowledge within the biological domain. Gene ontology analysis contain genes, identificatory genes, trace ID or symbol identificator, and this gene with database contains information what type of genes correspond to appropriate type of cells. And gene ontology, as a prime example, is instrumental in the interpretation of big cluster analysis results, offering an unified vocabulary for biological terms. Synergizing big clustering with gene ontology. Integrating big clustering with gene ontology analysis enhances the interpretability of gene expression data, revealing the functional dynamics of genes in health and disease. If big clusters allow us to divide the data into similar subsets, and gene ontology analysis in this case allow us to allocate the most useful information, using appropriate probability, of course, from each big clusters. And at the next step, we can integrate of the most significant genes in one data set, and we can use this data set for creation classification model. Some theory. Firstly, successful implementation of the cluster analysis based on criteria which allow us to allocate big clusters the most effectively. We try various type of criteria, classical criteria based on mean square error or between rows and columns, and criterion based on mutual information between rows and columns. This slide presents the formulas, classical formulas, how can calculate mutual information between gene expression profiles between rows or between columns. And we use it, mutual information is not the distance metric. And we transform the mutual information into distance metrics by formula 4. In this case, H are the Shannon entropy and mutual information. If two vectors are similar, mutual information is equal to entropy of each of vectors, and the distance is 0. Larger difference between vectors correspond to larger distances. So this metric was used within the framework of our research. Algorithm to calculate quality criteria contain two components. First component is average distance between all rows in B clusters. The second component, formula 5, the second component, average distance between all columns in B clusters, and general average distance, formula 7. This formula was used as the target function to optimize the B-clustering algorithm parameters, and we use it to optimize algorithm. We have used ensemble method based on our previous research, and this method allows to optimize two parameters. Experimental data. We use it gene expression data from various cancer diseases. We investigate in this case 9 type of cancer. Data from was obtained from the Cancer Genome Atlas project. This data is free available. Initially, data contained 3,269 samples and 19,947 genes. So this data is big. Preprocessing. Firstly, we remove the non-expressing and low-expressing genes. In this case, data number of genes was decreased to 19,265. As a second step, we apply spectral clustering algorithm within the framework of objective inductive technology. And we allocate one clusters which corresponds the higher value of classification accuracy. This cluster contained 3,444 genes. And then, as a result, the initial matrix was transformed in matrix of 3,269 rows or samples and 3,444 genes or columns. We used R software and B-class package within the framework of simulation procedure implementation. Algorithm ensemble B-clustering algorithm was chosen based on our previous research. We prove the larger effectiveness of this algorithm implementation. Two hyperparameters we should optimize the thresholding coefficient and ratio of rows, approximate ratio of rows and columns in B cluster, SIM-T-share. We apply algorithm bias optimization method to adjust the optimal parameters of this algorithm and target function. In this case, was declassification quality criteria, which I described before. As a result, simulation regarding determining the optimal hyperparameters was the following. 30 epoch was used, and at 10th iteration, TSR 0.549 and sim TSR 0.151. In this case, 18B cluster was allocated from this data. Investigation of data in B clusters. This slide the next step, application gene ontology analysis to all B clusters. We use it in this case the ANOVA statistical test, analysis variance, and we apply Fisher's and Kolmogorov-Smirnov test within the framework of our techniques. This slide presents volcano plot illustrating differential expression levels and significance. The level, the genes which has the similar expression are allocated beside zero. And large quantity of genes have higher expression in one groups in comparison with other groups, and here are allocated genes which have larger expression is other group in comparison with allocated one class. Then we apply enrichment test application by applying Fisher and Kolmogorov-Smirnov. Results, as a result of this type implementation, was allocated 388 significant gene ontology analysis term from 704. In this case, p-value was set as 0.01. In this case, with probability 99%, this genes was identified as significant. And this chart shows the p-value for Kolmogorov-Smirnov test versus the Fisher test. In this case, we can conclude that there are some gene ontology which are significant by two tests, and there are many ontology which are significant but one test and not significant but second test. So as a result, we allocate both tests. Here we present the graph of geoterms significant by Fisher test. The next chart presents the same graph for when we use Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. The comparison allows us to conclude the results differ with each other. This confirms the necessity of use both tests. Final step, association of GD differing from B clusters. We allocate based on use of both tests 296 significant genes. In this case, and application of gene ontology analysis allow us to decrease the number of genes to 1,780 significant genes with probability that which genes are significant 99%. Here we present graph of interconnection 5 the most significant ontologies and genes, and we can see that there are some genes which are which contains in the several gene ontology analysis. In this case, we allocate the unicated genes at the final step of our procedure implementation. The final step is classification of object based on allocated genes. We use it one-dimensional two-layer recurrent GRU neural network. Bias optimization algorithm was used to determine the optimal number of neurons. Range of neurons in this case was varied within this interval from 20 to 100. Optimal configuration, 98 neurons in first level and 75 in the second layer. As target function, we use it accuracy of classification. Overfitting, no data, optimal neuron count chosen to avoid overfitting. Evidence by classification, this response is success. Data was divided into groups, 70 for training and 30% for testing, and training subset usually divided 80% for direct training and 20% for validation. Cross-validation, 10-fold cross-validation was used during the model training. Results. This type of cancer and F measure, one criterion which is a measure of effectiveness of the sample distribution within each class, and the value of this measure significantly is relatively high. Accuracy in this case 94%, about 94%, and the number total object in test data which contain the test data which correspond to each cluster and correct identifier. Now, I would like to say that in we use it only one cluster during the simulation process. But if we can use full data, the simulation, our fuzzy results showed the higher value of accuracy in this case. So the proposed technique of significant and mutual correlated gene allocation is effective in this case. And finally, conclusion is presented at this slide. Thank you very much. Please question. I am ready to answer for your question.
Questions, please, dear colleagues?
My question, why a clustering method based on mutual entropy was chosen?
Why we use it mutual information?
Да. Mutual entropy, the information.
Yeah, we try various metrics. We try classical metrics based of distance between rows and columns, and we try mutual metrics based on mutual information using various methods on Shannon entropy. Classical, minimax, and other, Bayesian, other, and we prove during our, as a result of simulation, the mutual information metric based on mutual information is more effective in comparison with classical metrics based on Euclidean or correlation. It can be used, and we compare various methods on Shannon entropy calculation, and we prove also that choose of concrete methods of entropy calculation is not no, result was also the same within the framework of error. So we apply this matrix as a base matrix for our techniques.
Thank you.
Some questions, please. I have one question. Did you compare your solution with known solutions? If yes, what results did you get?
Did you compare what?
Your solution with known solutions.
Solution, I don't understand question.
Your method, system.
With
With
other solution.
Yes.
We try, I understand. No, we try various techniques of significant gene allocation. Firstly, we try techniques based on statistical analysis. We use variance, absolute value, Shannon entropy, and allocate the most informative or significant genes based on complex use. This method we try in fuzzy simulation, but fuzzy simulation we obtain very good results, but this model is complexity in terms of integration and adaptation to new data. We should adapt base rules, membership function, and finally, when we try gene ontology analysis with big clustering technique, cluster big clustering technique, finally we apply clustering, then to each cluster big cluster analysis, and for each big cluster gene ontology analysis. Then we integrate all results. We showed that results is better in comparison with other techniques, but we try various methods.
Thank you. More questions? No more questions. Thank you, Sergey. Next presentation is machine learning techniques for predicting software code properties using design metrics by Vera Lyubchenko. Vera, welcome, please.
Unfortunately, I can't share my screen because, oh, thank you. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Super. So I'll start. In this work, we explore software design metrics can be used to predict software performance characteristics. This is one of the critical areas of software engineering, as it allows us to identify potential problem early in development process and avoid costly network rework later on. In this presentation, I will first introduce the topic, next review the relevant literature, describe the information technology used in the study, present a case study, and finally conclude with the key finding. Software quality assurance is becoming increasingly important as software is used in more and more critical applications. However, a traditional reactive approach to quality assurance, such as testing, are often inadequate. A more proactive approach is needed to identify potential problems early in development. This is where design metrics come in. Design metrics are a set of measurements that can be used to assess the quality of a software design. By analyzing design metrics, we can identify potential problems that could lead to performance issue later. We reviewed some relevant research papers to understand better the relationship between design metrics and software performance characteristics. This paper shows that design metrics can be used to predict various software quality attributes such as reliability, maintainability, and stability. For example, one study found that high coupling between models tend to increase the propagation of defect and decrease the system resilience to change. Another study found that excessive complexity often correlates with high defect density and lower maintainability. But we should point out that the main body of publication is devoted to using code characteristics, mainly the number of lines of program code metrics, to predict different software purposes. The most developed topic is software defect prediction, but other applications were also described. For example, log was used to predict efforts on project development with agile methods, for testing stage, and for measurement the maintainability index. The information technology described in the paper is a framework for predicting software quality feature during the design phase. The framework takes design metrics as input data and uses machine learning to develop predictive models. These models can then be used to predict the quality of a software system based on its design. Software technology consists of two core procedures: model identification and prediction utilizing the model. Input data consists of measurement of metrics that describe software design. The result are the quality features that we predict. A natural constraint of the choice of input and output data is the availability of historical data on the selected metrics. After all, a predictive machine learning model must be trained on historical data. Both procedures are widely recognized and nearly standard in machine learning. The core hypothesis for information technology implementation is that a sufficient accuracy level of quality feature prediction under specific conditions could always be determined. Depending on this, a particular predictive technique should be chosen. To evaluate the effectiveness of information technology, we consider a case study using data from 39 open source Java projects. It's important to highlight that the component characteristics of this project are notably similar, indicating that the dataset from individual projects can be effectively merged. The slide illustrated data from 3 randomly chosen projects plotted on the space defined by the first 2 principal components. We used only metrics related to the software design from the available set of metrics. The dataset provided did not include measurement of metrics directly tied to the quality of a software product, such as quantity of presence of defect. Nevertheless, it has been established that the number of defects tends to proportion to the number of log. This dependency was utilized in our analysis. Initially, we explore existing linear dependency by examining the correlation matrix. We identify only 2 significant linear dependency with log. Therefore, we opted not to utilize linear regression. Instead, we employed a random forest, AdaBoost, and artificial neural network to model the regression dependency. In summarizing the result obtained, it became apparent that regression model yielded low quality forecast. However, it's worth noting that our primary concern wasn't forecasting log itself. Instead, we focused on utilizing log to infer quality characteristics. We could establish varying risk level based on model size measured by log and transition to classification task. Let's see the frequency distribution for log values. Most modules contain up to 75 logs, suggesting that models of this size typically exhibit acceptable quality. There are a few extensive models which likely present challenges. Hence, we proposed categorizing model with log of more than 75 as risky. So we try classification and we use the same techniques. You can see the performance measure. We observed that the neural network demonstrates slightly interior performance, likely attributed to the inadequacy of the sample size used. Random forecast is preferable for practical application due to its consistent performance across data set of varying size and in simplicity compared to the other boost methods. Therefore, reducing the specificity of the outcome criteria enables the development of a model with satisfactory prediction accuracy. This inference remains valid irresponsible of the programming language utilizing of the type of project under consideration. By broadening the scope of outcome criteria, the model became more adaptable and capable to provide a reliable prediction across various contexts. This flexibility enhances the model's utility and ensures the applicability in diverse software engineering scenarios. Prioritizing generalizability over specificity enhances the model's effectiveness and reliability in predicting outcomes. In conclusion, this paper finding suggests that predictable modeling can be a valuable tool for software quality assurance. By using design metrics to develop predictive model, we can identify potential problem early in development process and take steps to mitigate them, leading to the significant improvement in software quality. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, dear Vera. Questions, please, dear colleagues?
Make a quick
How
question.
can we can?
Are you planning to use a deep neural network?
Yeah, but there is a problem because we have small data set for using deep learning methods. Unfortunately, actually, I told you about merging. Here I demonstrate the slide. I told you about merging the data set about different projects because each data set is quite small, even for random forest method. I think we get low quality result with neural networks because we have small data set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. More questions, please? And I have one question. Why do you use precisely machine learning to predict software properties?
Actually, we have some information about using classical statistical methods, and they are usually used 1 or 2 or 3 parameters which try to use for prediction. And the second point is usually people used log or number of methods of number of parameters, so characteristic of code to predict defect. But we try to find the possibility to predict defect or predict the quality level early in the development stage. And you see, I think when we try to predict something very early, there will be impact of different latent factors, and classical statistic methods not will be so effective as a machine learning method could be. Maybe I'm wrong. I need more data, more experience to compare a statistical method and method of machine learning. But I think that hypothesis is true.
Thank you. More questions, please? No more questions. Thank you, dear Vera. And our next presentation is deep learning-based determination of optimal triangles number of graphic objects polygonal model by Alexander Romanyuk and Yevhen Zavalnyuk, who is speaker. Yevhen Zavalnyuk. Okay. Next presentation is the information technology for the formation of high-quality visual content of newspaper publications by Bogdan Kowalski, Miroslava Dudnevich, Tatiana Golubnik, Ludmila Maik, and Zarina Selmenska. Who is speaker? Miroslava, yes?
Yes, I am.
Welcome.
I share my presentation. One moment, please. You see my publication, my presentation?
Yes, you see, I see, yes.
Okay, good. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present our research, the information technology for formation of high-quality visual content of newspaper publications. Newspaper phase has many tasks, and the most important of them is to survive in the information market, attract new readers, offer them a high-quality information product, filling the content with new interesting contents. The formation of the content of the printed publication is an important factor affecting the promotion of these products in the market of periodicals. Until recently, the main source of news was printed periodicals, but every day the emphasis is being shifted to the sphere of electronic media resources. Periodicals are considered successful today as a rule, have and harmoniously combine two variable components, print and electronics. According to research, 19% of visual image are immediately transformed into the human brain, and 18% of visual information is immediately remembered. Therefore, you should be very careful with the selection of photo content to orient the consumer in the first moments of interaction with a verbal and non-verbal message, and interest them in choosing your publications among many similar ones. Research by the Society for News Design has shown that the second most important factor in a successful newspaper after content is design. At the same time, 75 consider the photo in the second place. Attention to text, only 25%. Publications in modern mass media today cannot be imagined without images. Surveys of modern media readers show that 2.5% of respondents prefer their favorite newspaper because it has many photos. 82% of respondents answer that the design of the newspaper and the presence of photo are important to them. Thus, illustrations attract consumers and influence their choice of a particular periodicals, so illustrations are a marketing tool. At the same time, the formation of the content of the photo-illustrative content of the newspaper is of particular importance. To do this, it's necessary to analyze expert assessments of the importance of the influence of each of factors of newspaper photo illustrations and their cumulative effects on the media product, to determine the interrelational shifts and mutual influence of their criteria and their constituent components of the degree of consumer involved in the choice of certain newspaper publications. In the technology of the modern publishing process, there are no methods of a priori modeling of the choice of illustration of the publication as a whole and photo illustrations in particular. Since photo illustration is an active means of attracting the attention of the reader, to solve the tasks of ensuring the quality of the visual content of printed periodicals is necessary to single out and classify the factors influencing the quality, accuracy of the stage of interesting photo illustration into the newspaper publications. Settings and solving the task of identifying the most complete set of compositional criteria for selecting photo illustration and combining visual content with verbal messages is relevant. To form the most complete list of factors influencing the quality of the formation of visual content of periodical, it's necessary to conduct a content analysis of Ukrainian print media. Several editions of Ukrainian newspapers were selected for the study. One of them, social political newspaper Express, Високий Замок, День, and the all-Ukrainian transport periodical Magistral. All editions of all Ukrainian and have different publication frequency, formats, and volumes of page. Since each edition has its particulars in layout, including the placements of photo, it was decided to focus on publications of different orientation designed for the wide audience. To analyze the illustrative content of newspaper publications, we will explore the following indications presented on this slide. First, you can see a diagram of the content of illustration in certain issues of newspaper publications. A total of 6 issues of each newspaper published are sometime were selected. From the present dependence on the amount of illustrative material, a certain stability is observed from issue to issue. The number of photo illustrations varied within a somewhat narrow range for each edition in particular. It can be clearly distinguished that the graphic model of some publications, such as the Magistral newspaper, is significantly saturated with visual content, and some of them hide quite a few photographs. The social and political newspapers are characterized by approximately the same percentage of illustrative material. Significant contents of illustrative material does not always have a positive effects on the compositional model and appearance of the periodical. Such a high percentage of photo illustrated content is believed to be typical of publication of a lower rank and quality, such as tabloid press and district level subordinations. For in all Ukrainian newspapers, such a graphic compositional model and distribution of content components is inappropriate. The reader gets the impression that the journalist locked information and the strip was occupied by a large number of pictures. The following dependence demonstrating the genre representation of photo illustration in the analyzed newspaper publications. And in each newspaper, a separate genre prevails. After analyzing the genre distribution of photographs, it's possible to recommend publications to diversify image genres. It's not easy to make a portrait interesting for readers, besides they are often repeated, while a reportage photo are most often original, interesting, and full of events. When illustrating the text of media messages, the image editor set completely different task for the image. Depending on this, different types of illustration are distinguished in terms of their relationship with the text, direct, associative, and free. The distribution of photo illustration by the type of connection with the text in the considered newspaper demonstrates the predominance of direct photo illustration. At level 16–19% of a total volume. This selection of photo illustrative content does not demonstrate originality and does not give the reader space for a broader understanding of the printed material. At the same time, in design of Express, Високий Замок newspapers, the associative photo illustration occupies approximately 20–35% of the total volume of photo content. Such an indirect presentation of information enrich the compositional and graphic model of the publications and make the perception of publications more interesting and versatile. The conducted studies show that in the considered newspapers there are generally several sources of origin of photo illustrative content, work of own photo correspondents and various photo banks. Also, a certain percentage of photo illustration come from the personal archives of the heroes of the publications. In particular, in the newspaper Express, about half of the photo illustrations of each issue are taken from well-known photo banks. About a third of the photo illustration are the work of their own journalists. This distribution is in the origin of photo illustration explains the fact that the photographic content of the Express newspaper is a high level. Analysis of illustrative contents of issue of the newspaper Magistral, for example, revealed completely different trends in the origin of the photo. The works of own photojournalists make only 32–71%, and photos from photo banks make up a very small share, from 7 to 21%. Photographs from the personal archives of the heroes of publication in issues of the newspaper up to 32%. That's much more than in the rest of the analyzed newspapers. Is the photo from personal archives, they are characterized by unsuccessful compositional solution and a large number of photo stamps. It's necessary to diversify and qualitatively improve the content of the publication itself due to the photo illustration of photos with a better compositional structure, which will allow publications to be communicative with the reader. As for the methods of composing photo illustrations, the newspaper Express demonstrates a much better graphic model of the publication than, for example, the newspaper Magistral. Of course, flaws in the presentation of photo material in the columns of the compositional and graphic model of newspaper are found in each of the analyzed publication. But among the 4 considered newspaper editions, it's Magistral that has the most shortcoming in the graphic model and appearance of newspaper spreads. As a result of the content analysis of several newspaper editions, some influencing factors on the formation of their visual contents were revealed. Therefore, it's appropriate to determine the priority of influencing factor by building an information model followed by its analysis, which will allow the most accurate approach to photo illustration of newspaper periodicals. To realize the formulated goal of the research, we signed a clear list of factors influencing the formation of high-quality visual content of newspaper publications, and based on an expert analysis of the importance of each of the factors, we built a graph of relationships between them. We considered the procedure of forming newspaper editions as some function, the arguments of which will be the above factors. The list of factors presented above, which significantly influence the process of forming the visual content of newspaper publication, can be described by a set of linguistic variables, which is a work analog of the factors influencing an arbitrary technological process. We will consider the procedure of forming newspaper edition as some function, the argument of which will be above factors. That graph was used to arrange the factors according to the importance of the influence on the research process, the result of which was a multi-level model on factors for creating visual contents of modern newspaper media. For the synthesis of the linguistic model, we use the tools of metric theory and system analysis. Using the form graphic model and analog of the semantic network, we built a binary reachability matrix which simulated the possible option for hitting other vertices from each vertex of the graph. As can be seen from the previous table, the constituents of numbers is recorded for factor 1. The compositional graphic model, we consider the factors to be the highest in terms of priority, level of impact on a research process. According to the method of system analysis and mathematical modeling of hierarchies, we remove from this table the first line corresponding to the number of the singled out factors. And in the second and third columns of this table, we cross out the number 1 respectively. We get a table that the basis for calculating the next iteration, the basis of the next most important level of hierarchy of factors with its selection. All the following tables with the removal of one or more factors determine the following in the order of their priority. Using the data of the interactive analysis and taking into account, we synthesize a multi-level structured graphic model in which we place of each of the factors in the displayed and connection between them specified in the original model are reproduced. In this model, the priority of the effects of the factor on the process creation of visual contents of the newspaper is determined by the level of this placement, which is reflected in the following model. The synthesized model abstractly reflects the subjective judgments of experts regarding the factors that influence the main procedures of the stage of the photo illustration of the newspaper publications. As can be seen from the figures, the compositional and graphic models of the publication has been great weight, depending on which a hierarchical pyramid of factors or a certain criteria is built. Thus, the build priority model makes it possible to understand what is most important when choosing specific photo illustration for forming the visual contents of newspaper publications. First of all, the choice of photo illustration is influenced by the compositional and graphic model of the publications. The publication's abundance of photo illustration determines the number of necessary photos, but these indicators must be consistent with the compositional and graphic model of the publication and the content of publications so as not to overload the visual series. Regarding the genre solution of photo illustration, the more interesting for consumer is the genre of photo reportage. Therefore, the main emphasis of the photo editors should be on this type of photo illustration. The source of origin of photo illustration is the next more important factor that determines the success of the formation of photo illustrative content. This is explained by the high level of professionalism of works obtained from photo banks or their additional photographers, which in turn has a positive effects on their compositional solution. The remaining these four factors have the same level of priority: the location of the photo illustrations, their function, and the way of communication with the text, as well as the composition of the photo illustration. A practically conducted contents analysis for Ukrainian newspaper editions confirms the result of the obtained mathematical modeling. It's the factors taken into account in the model that determine the success of the formation of the photo illustrative content of the periodical. This slide shows the general conclusions of the work. The results obtained in this work can be taken into account when forming the visual content of publications, which will improve the quality of their printing and expand the readerships by attracting new consumers. Thanks for your attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, dear Miroslava. Questions, please, dear colleagues? I have one question. How do you select content for visualization? Or do you propose to visualize all papers, all articles from newspapers?
We choose most of all Ukrainian from different demands of readers. We analyze how many buying newspaper, and on this we chose 4 of all Ukrainian newspapers.
Thank you. More questions, please, dear colleagues? No questions. Thank you, dear Miroslava.
Thank you for attention for all.
Authors of previous presentations have technical problems, so next presentation is deep learning-based determination of optimal triangles number of graphic objects polygonal model by Alexander Romaniuk and Yevhen Zavalnuk. Yevhen, are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome, please.
Is screen visible?
We see a screen, but not presentation. We see Zoom. Oh, okay. Yes, okay.
Dear organizing committee, dear workshop participants, the results of the study on the topic deep learning-based determination optimal triangles number of graphic objects polygonal model are presented. As shown on the slide, modern world is characterized with a broad usage of graphic devices. Three-dimensional graphic images are created according to the sequence of stages, which form the graphics pipeline. In order to increase the productivity of image formation, it is possible to use adaptive shading at the rendering stage or simplify the object's polygonal model at the geometrical transformation stage. It is advisable to simplify polygonal model to the smallest level, at which the losses in quality are imperceptible. Direct mesh simplification is the most common approach. However, the optimal level of simplification should be determined. Given the object's rendering time, it is possible to determine the optimal number of polygons from the temporal rendering equation. However, the method is more concerned with the graphics pipeline than with the object's features. The components of equation significantly depend on the rendering algorithm development. Another direction lies in predicting optimal local densities of polygons. However, during finding the simplest polygonal model, it is usually enough to determine the target number of polygons as the initial local density distribution is already given. Then the simplification algorithm should preserve main surface features. The direction of direct optimal polygons number prediction is insufficiently researched. For example, the method by Kratu et al. Lies in using a simple feed-forward neural network with 2 layers for predicting optimal polygons numbers at different levels of detail. The comprehensive learning of local and spatial hierarchical object features here is not provided. Hence, the development of new methods is necessary. Our proposed approach lies in 2-branch objects data processing. The first neural branch processes the voxelite objects tensor and learns complex surface patterns like curvature. The second neural branch processes the object's features vector, initial polygons number, the locations object in the camera. The unifying branch combines the data from both branches and calculates optimal polygons number. As the polygons, the triangles are considered. The dataset was formed based on the sample of 2000 ShapeNet objects. Each object was located at 3 remoteness levels relative to the camera. The camera was located at 4 locations relative to the object. For each of the location combinations, 10 levels of triangles number reduction were considered. Blender modifier decimate was used in the mode of edge collapse. For each of the combinations, 10 corresponding images were formed. Using the NMSC metric, it was determined which image was the last in the direction of simplifying that deviated from the original by less than 1,000. The chosen image corresponded to the target optimal triangles number. 1,000's value means that the images differ significantly for an observer. The slide shows the result of neural networks optimal parameter selection using Optuna library. The next slide shows the optimized architecture of the proposed neural network. During neural network training, MSE metric was used. The validation error stopped improving after 71 epochs. The plot and table with training results are given. During neural network testing, the MAE of test dataset approximation was 1342, and the value of NRMSE was 3%. The plot with the predicted and target values of optional triangles numbers is presented. The examples of optimal triangles number prediction for planes and car models are shown on the slide. Our proposed approach was compared with simple guessing, selecting the same value with two-layer network by Kretu and with ResNet1 by Zhang. The gain in percentage from the proposed approach usage is listed in the final column. So the direction of future approach of future research, usage of more complex data in objects vector, the enlargement of data set with bigger numbers of object classes and more diverse mutual positions object and camera, the comparison of voxel tensor usage for representing the object geometry with other approaches, artificial intelligence based approach instead of similarity matrix NMSE, and using launch base in transfer learning, parallelization of polygons number prediction. The conclusions. In the article, the neural network-based approach to determining the optional triangles number of the object's polygonal model is proposed. The approach is based on two-branch processing of volumetric and vector object features. The direct triangles number prediction is provided based on the learning of local surface and hierarchical spatial patterns of the object, considering the peculiarities of human perception, which is absent in the analyzed methods of polygonal model simplification. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, dear Yevgen. Questions, please, dear colleagues?
May some question.
Welcome.
Why wasn't the mobile neural network chosen?
Return to it. You meant this?
Why you chosen this neural network or no mobile net? You used ResNet neural network.
No, we used our own network for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have one question about where can your results be applied, in which subject domain maybe?
These results allow to make the overall visualization process of object faster, especially it is connected with the geometrical transformation stage, because when we simplify the model, it's a very actually hard process to find the optimal sites to which we should simplify it, and with this intellectual prediction, it is we can save a lot of time.
Thank you. More questions, please? No more questions. Thank you, dear. Next presentation is method for determining the security level of software by Tatiana Gorushenko, Yuri Wojciuk, Dmitro Matsata, Artem Boyarchuk, and Alina Hnachuk. Alina, welcome.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Is it switching?
No, switch it.
Yeah, okay. Dear colleagues, let me present our research methods for determining the security level of software. According to presented ISO standards, software security is one of the characteristics of software quality, and like the other characteristics, is determined on the basis of certain quality attributes from the ISO standard. Thus, at present, there is increase of the complexity of software, an increase in the responsibility assigned to it, and tightening requirements for software quality and security on the part of users. So predicting and determining the level of software security as one of the characteristics of software quality based on requirements using AI components is an urgent task, of the solution of which will be the purpose of this study. So the analyzed AI-based methods and tools for predicting the level of software security and quality have great potential, but they do not establish the dependence of software security on quality attributes, do not form a predicted numerical value of software security based on these attributes, and don't provide a prediction of the level of software security based on the obtained numerical values. The described concept.
Alina, I'm sorry, but no switching your side.
No switching. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay. Now we. Okay. Now we see third slide. Yes, switch. Okay.
The described concept of determining the software security based on quality attributes from software requirements is based on the concept of predicting the software quality characteristics based on quality attributes using ANN is shown on this slide. The ANN is trained in such a way that the base of the values on the relevant attributes, it generates a predicted numerical value of software security in the interval from 0 to 1, where the value 0 means the worst level of software security, and the value 1 means the best level of software security as a characteristics of software quality. However, it's difficult for both the customer and even the developer to correctly interpret the obtained numerical value of software security, and therefore it is difficult to correctly assess the level of software security based on the obtained from ANN value. So on this slide are presented methods for determining the security level of software, and it includes such steps. Pre-processing of software requirements means representation of the requirement specification in a form suitable for analysis for finding the values of quality attributes, analysis of software requirements to find the values of 15 quality attributes on which software security depends, preparation of the found values of 15 quality attributes on which software security depends, for submitting them to the ANN input. At this stage, the ANN input vectors are prepared to take into account the fact that the security characteristics depends on 23 attributes, including 15 different attributes, and the ANN inputs are formed as 5 sets for 5 software security subcharacteristics of 1, 2, 8, 10, and 2 attributes according to the ontologies. Processing of attribute values by an artificial neural network analysis of the result of the ANN, the predicted numerical value of the software security, forming a conclusion about the predicted level of software security based on the following rules. If the first rule is applied, then the software is predicted to have an initial level of security. If the second rule is applied, then the software is predicted to have a medium level of security. If the third rule is applied, then the software is predicted to have a sufficient level of security. And if the last fourth rule is applied, then the software is predicted to have a high level of security. The ANN was implemented in the MATLAB. The GenSim operator generated a visualization of the developed ANN in the Simulink, which you can see on this slide. The process of training and testing the ANN is shown on this slide, where the blue curve is the ANN training schedule, and the green curve is the ANN testing schedule, and the black line is the ANN training goal, which, as can be seen from this slide, was achieved. For selecting the optimal ANN algorithm, we analyzed the ANN training process by the different algorithms using different quality criteria. It also can be seen from this slide. The conducted analysis has shown that the worst ANN's training result is obtained by the training quality criteria MAA is in combination with all training algorithms, and the best result is obtained by the training quality criterion MES-EREG. Thus, the software developed according to specifications 2 and 8 is predicted to have a high level of security. Of course, if the bugs are not made on the next life cycle stages. So the customer is recommended to order software development from software companies that have prepared requirements specification 2 and 8. Currently, there is increase in the complexity of software and increase in the responsibility assigned to it, and tightening requirements for software quality and security on the part of users. So predicting and determining the level of software security as one of the characteristics of software quality based on requirements using AI components is an urgent task. The developed method for determining the security level of software establishes the dependence of software security and quality attributes, forms a predicted numerical value of software security based on these attributes, provide a prediction of the level of software security based on the obtained numerical value, and provides a comparison of software requirement specifications by predicted level of security of developed software. Of course, if the bugs are not made in the next lifecycle stages, and the possibility of rejection form unsuccessful specification. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, dear Alina. Questions, please, dear colleagues? Dear colleagues, questions, please? No questions. Thank you, dear Alina. And now we have a next presentation is informational and technological provision of environmental nature reserves monitoring by Alexander Timchenko, Bogdana Gavrish, Orest Havula, Bogdan Kowalski, and Igor Bavnuk. Dana?
Hello.
Are you here?
I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Tell me, please, do you see my screen? The presentation?
Now we cannot see.
1 second. I don't know technical issues. One more time. Sorry. And start sharing now.
Yes. Yes, we can see.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, today I would like to speak about ecological monitoring of nature reserves with the help of wireless sensor networks can not only be fully automated, but also brought to a fundamental new level by providing informational support, continuous monitoring, detection of threats, and automatic storage and analysis of results without human intervention. My agenda will be, of course, introduction, purpose of this work, related work, selection of the monitoring structure, and different kinds of structure, and we will go during the presentation, solving the tasks of ecological monitoring of natural reserves with the use of information technologies, structure and information flow in the environment monitoring system, creation of information support for monitoring system, the purpose of BSN architecture for environmental monitoring of nature reserves, and of course, conclusion. Traditionally, methods of environment state monitoring are based on changes observation in individual animal elements of nature ecosystems, such as fluctuation in climate factors, nature of anthropogenic habits disturbances, changes in numbers of individual species of animals and plants. In such studies, the main attention is paid to the study of the structure and nature of connection between individual elements and evolution of connection over time. The biosystem as an integral aggregation of cells as well as individuals and species makes a significantly amendment to the traditional perception of the organic world and the nature of its development. It forced to raise and solve methodological issues of studying biosystem differently than it was before. It is these indicators that make it possible to characterize the biosystem as a whole and establish the laws government in its development. The purpose of this work is the development of methodological and algorithm support for the informational support of the tasks of ecological monitoring of nature reserves. The application system ecological monitoring uses wireless sensor networks, make it possible to significantly expand the scope of research details without human intervention, which is really important. Method allows combinations this often unrelated observation and effectively use them to analyze the stage and change in the structure of nature ecosystem. According to this that I mentioned about, all connections in ecosystem are subordinate in nature. There are leading ecological factors and determine spatial diversity in other features of spatial biology, and secondary factors that are not so significant for the structure and functioning of communities. The identification of such factors and the nature of their relationships on the example of background, species of animals and plants make it possible to monitor based on analysis of changes, hierarchical or organized relationships of organisms. Fire alarm system, thousands of microscope sensors are spread over the territory, for example, in the forest and in the threatening zone situation. On the basis of continuous temperature measurement, they inform the crisis center about existing threat. Thanks to the sensors, a quick reaction is possible and it helps to minimize the losses. Flood warning system. The US uses this alert system, which warns against dangerous atmosphere phenomena, such as hurricanes, floods. Several types of sensors monitors the amount the perceptions, water level in the river, and other. Most meteorological information and collect this information is forwarded to database and it is analyzed anytime. In addition, there are many systems that monitors the preservation of animal, pollution in the air environment, or condition of soils in agriculture. The importance of rare animals species for systematic environment monitoring is due to the fact that there is existing is supported by limited resources. Traditionally, or typically, a network-level environment data collection program is characterized to the presence of the large numbers of nodes that continuously receive and transmit data to base station that store it for later use. Sensor networks can work in various extreme conditions. Therefore, to perform monitoring tasks, we can also place them in the following places as roads or animals to monitor their conservation, or places of biological and chemical pollution, or in some other many hard-to-reach places. In sensors networks based on wireless environment, energy consumption is very important. Sensor nodes can be equipped with a rather limited power source. In addition, in sensor networks with a serial data transmission, each node must fulfill the dual role and of data source and routing data. Therefore, the loss of functions of several nodes can have a significantly impact on topology changes, as well as required data for rerouting the reorganizing of entire network. After deployment, individual VSN nodes must initiate a route discovery procedure to generate network topology and evaluate optimal routine strategy. After setting the wireless sensor network, each node periodically takes sensor reading and transmit the collected data to the main node. And you may see this on the picture. A typical transmission period is estimated approximately from 1 to 15 minutes. In typical environment monitoring condition, attributes such as air and soil temperature, light intensity, and air and soil master change slowly, therefore do not require shorter reporting periods. Due to limited energy resources, there is always a possibility that nodes will fail and routes will be disturbed. As a result, periodic network configuration updates must occur to redistribute the network load or to handle node or link failure. Additionally, network users may want to change the network topology to accommodate new information about the control environment. Next one, this is hierarchical structure. To reduce the total energy consumption and increase the total monitoring time, it is advisable to change the traditional tree-shaped structure of the wireless sensor to hierarchical one. Hierarchical protocols or low energy adaptive hierarchy of group clusters divide the network into clusters consisting of groups of nodes. One of the nodes in the cluster receives the status of the master, and other node in the cluster maintain communication with the cluster only with it. The main node instead forwards the information further to the main node in the network, and only it maintains communication with it. The protocol allows randomly to change of the main nodes in the cluster, which made it possible to reduce energy and evenly distribute the energy load to all nodes in the network. In addition, this type of structure performs data aggregation, which significantly limits the amount of data it is broadcast to the master node. Here we have the simulation of energy properties were aimed at determining the lifetime and energy consumption for individual sensors in the network. The parameters are essential for wireless sensor networks because it is not desirable to have a situation in which only a few sensors in the network operate for much longer. Obviously, the best solution is when all sensors in the network are loaded evenly, which means that their lifetime is approximately the same. For simulation, we used a random place of 50 nodes on the area 100 by 100 meters. The immediate structure protocols with hierarchical structure have a small delay in packet transmission, regardless of the number of nodes. The entire network is loaded evenly, and there are no situations where some sensor remains unnecessary, being outside the network. However, the significantly advantage of protocol with a hierarchy structure are offset by the need for significantly sensor process power, as well as the time interval required to fix the network structure. So let's define the tasks of ecological monitoring reserves, which can be solved with the use of information technology. First one, the use of special data to collect and store information on the values of controlled parameters and meteorological indicators tied to specify special objects. Then developed an environment monitoring subsystem of nature reserves to support decision-making in the field of environment safety and ensure that software and analytics solution for monitoring tasks, development of standards and protocols for the exchanging of information between subsystems of environmental monitoring of all levels, development of software interface for organizing users' interaction with monitors subsystems, taking into account and level of access. Solving the specified environmental monitors task is possible is an information system capable to perform such functions. Collecting and storage in a special database of information coming from monitoring subjects and automated monitoring posts. Automatic notification of personnel is in the event of dangerous situation by analyzing information in real time. Information and analytic support for decision-making in the field of environmental monitoring at all levels, and generating of support, including the form of map information for system users according to access rights, solution to typical problems, modeling concentration fields, forecasting, and dynamics of changes in concentration of population at all levels, and of course, informational security. The class diagram for wireless sensor network environment here is on the slide. To collect data, sensors use sensor gateway to transmit data over the internet to a data server. It can be smartphone, it can be router, it can be cloud, where the data is stored in databases. Data sources are sensors of environmental parameters. To use the data, the user, it means client, launched the application on the web application, which allowed him to connect via the internet to the data server, which stores the data. The data server runs the server application and serves the client request by querying the database. Hypothetically, smoke and fire can be detected by sensors of the monitoring system, smoke and temperature sensors, but only if the ignition source is near the wireless network node. In addition, typically VSN are too slow to send the necessary information to the user program in timely manner. Therefore, parallel to the monitoring network, it is worth to deploy a new one built on the basis of wireless video cameras, the main purpose of which will be to detect signs of fire on the territory of the reserve. Analyzing the data of video cameras for the purpose of detecting signs of fire can be implemented on the basis of artificial vision technologies with approximate ready-made libraries and artificial intelligence methods implemented in a number of libraries, for example, Keras. And the conclusion, the analysis of trends and features of ecological monitoring development methods of nature reserves allows us to draw conclusion about insufficient attention to each technology and information support. For some reason, safety issues are often raised beyond the environmental monitoring procedures, which violates the principles of systemic environmental monitoring, for example, prevention of timely detection of fires. To implement the program part of proposed VSN structure of environmental monitoring of nature reserves based on video surveillance system to detect signs of fire. Fire in a control area, especially with anthropogenic impact, is a very important factor leading to the distribute of protected areas. However, the detection of smoke and fire by wireless sensor network nodes is quite limited in terms of distance. In addition, typically wireless sensor networks are too slow to send the necessary information to the central monitoring node in a timely manner. With the use of appropriate technical and software tools of machine vision, ecological monitoring of nature reserves cannot be only fully automated, but also brought to a fundamentally new level, provided continuously monitoring of certain territory and automatic storage and analysis of results. The presented study is proposed to the Carpathian Biosphere Reserve for areas of nature with possible changes in relief due to anthropogenic impact. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Bogdana. Questions, please, dear colleagues?
Some question. Did you use a
Welcome again.
oriented architecture?
Not this time. Thank you very much, Evgen, for questions.
Thank you.
And I have one question. Who measures environmental parameters? Do you measure yourself or do you use ready parameters from other systems?
We use ready parameters from other resources, but I would like to mention that artificial intelligence is developing a lot, and if we combine, we need to be on track with it, and the data is changing all the time. And if we combine the artificial intelligence with IT sector, even we can achieve very nice and huge results, would help us to save human resources, people, which is maybe the main aim, and of course, natural reserves.
Thank you. More questions, please? No more questions. Thank you, dear Bogdana. And the last presentation for this part of section is the decision support system for assessing the economic development potential of a territorial community by Tetiana Terещенко, Olena Chytra, Елизавета Гначук, Alina Gначук, and Huda Albukishi. Alina, are you speaker? Yes?
Yeah. Dear colleagues, let me present our research, a decision support system for assessing the economic development potential of the territorial community. The economic potential is the basis for ensuring the competitiveness of the territory, systematic balanced local economic development, improving the welfare of the residents of the territorial community, and etc. The process of forming and assessing the economic potential of a territory community in terms of all its elements is extremely complex. It is necessary to take into account the influence of numerous factors that are in a state of constant movement and imbalance under changing environmental conditions. Given the complexity of such process, it is advisable to use decision support systems that allow taking into account all available factors, grouping them according to the degree of influence on the assessment of economic potential, providing a conclusion on the sufficiency or insufficiency of information for assessing the economic development potential and making decisions to assess the economic development potential of a territorial community. Decision-making is an important process in various subject areas, and the cost of human error is quite high, and failure to take into account all factors leads to erroneous decisions. To date, Ukraine has not developed any decision support system for assessing the economic development potential of territorial communities. All processes of formation and assessment are carried out manually using SWOT analysis. The results are also evaluated manually, which can lead to unreliable and sometimes inaccurate estimates, as the economic environment is quite volatile under the influence of external factors. If the factors affecting the economic potential change or emerge, the entire process of building a SWOT matrix needs to be started anew, and the conclusion needs to be formed anew. This leads to all increased workload for employees and additional time and resources. In addition, unreliable assessment of the economic development potential of territorial communities can lead to significant economic losses, as stakeholders may decide, based on the proposed assessment, to finance an unpromising community or not to pay enough attention to strengthening certain factors of development of a promising community. The task of providing automated decision-making support in this area is becoming increasingly important, as the information load on employees who form and study the factors of economic potential increases. The literature review showed that there is currently no decision support system for assessing the economic development potential of territorial communities. To support decision-making, it is necessary to study the subject area as well as to systematize the factors of formation and realization of the economic potential of a territorial community and determine the level and nature of their influence. In our opinion, for more substantive understanding of the factors of economic potential formation, it is important to determine its structure. We are convinced that the elements of the economic potential of a community should be considered from the following perspectives. First one is a resource provision. Second one is the ability to structure and readiness to implement socio-economic transformations. Third one, formation of the market environment. Fourth one is the level and quality of life of the community. And the last and the fifth one is area of implementation. The development of economic potential should be considered as a complex long-term dynamic process that occurs under the influence of external and internal environmental factors during which opportunities for economic growth in the territorial community are increasing. It is important to use powerful analytical tools to make decisions on local development, as well as synergies between local authorities and territorial communities, businesses, their corporate social responsibility, and the flexibility of adaptive management systems taking into account the priorities of national and regional development programs and plans. A decision-making tool for assessing the economic potential of the territory community is a decision support system. A scheme of a decision support system for assessing the economic potential of a territorial community is presented on the fifth slide. As an important model in the structure of such system is the decision-making model. Let us consider it in more detail. To do this, it is necessary to identify the factors that shape the economic potential of a territorial community by these following criteria. By the environment of origin, by the level of objectivity, by the level of manageability, by nature, by consequences and quality of impact, by the level of impact, by origin, by content, by the level of structuring, by the level of impact, and by the duration of impact. In our opinion, these types of factors have a multi-directional effect, so they should be grouped into the following groups, which are presented on slide 7. FS are factors that direct the development of the economic potential of the territory. These factors create the institutional environment, define strategic vectors and policies that form the basis for the formation of the economic potential of the territorial community, and it includes the principles of the state's foreign policy, principles of domestic policy, and priorities of the local economic development. Next one is PZR. This factor that ensure the development of the economic potential of the territory. These factors create the resource basis for the realization of the economic potential of the territorial community and determine its structure, existing natural resource environment, technological development and innovations, budgetary support, and international support. The third one is FVR. These are factors that determine the development of the economic potential of the territory. These factors affect the level of formation and intensity of use of the economic potential of the territory. And it also includes economic activity and production, legal environment, sustainable use of natural, social situation, and historical preconditions for development, the institutional environment of the community. And the last one is PCR, factors that hinder the development of the economic potential of the territory. These factors create obstacles to the formation and effective use of the components of the economic potential of the territorial community. It includes economic instability, bureaucratic and legal obstacles, infrastructure problems, unfavorable investment climate, low level of involvement of international economic relations, instability of the political situation, and unfavorable social demographic situation. A scheme of the decision-making model for assessing the potential for economic development of the territorial community. As input, the decision-making model receives all available information about the factors that influence the formation of the economic potential of the territorial community. The next step is to form a set of available factors of the AEP, economic potential. After that, according to certain criteria, these factors from third set are grouped into the sets. F is R, factor that direct the development of the economic potential of the territory. F is ZR, factors that ensure the development of the economic potential of the territory. FVR, factors that determine the development of the economic potential of the territory. And FCR, factors that contains the development of the economic potential of the territory. Next, we check wherever these sets are not empty sets. Each set must contain certain elements. If this condition is not met, the model concludes that there is insufficient information to draw a conclusion. If this condition is met, then the model checks wherever there is enough information to form a conclusion. If the information is sufficient, the conclusion is formed in the form of assessment of the economic development potential of the territorial community. The assessment of the economic development potential of a territorial community is a set of the form 1, where NP is a small potential, CP is medium potential, and VP is large potential. According to the source, in order to have enough information to make a decision on assessing the economic potential of a territorial community, it is necessary that the set AEFP is more or equal to 37. If this condition is not met, then it's not impossible to form a conclusion because there is not enough information. Experimental studies to test the proposed solution, let's consider the decision support for assessing the economic development potential of the Horodok territorial community. As input, the decision-making model receives all available information about the factors that influence the formation of the economic potential of the territorial community. Next step is to form the set of available AEFP economic potential factors. Taking into account all available factors, the value of the set is equal 41. The next step is to group the factors from this set into the set F is R, which equals 8. The factors that direct the development of the economic potential of the territory. Factors that ensure the development of the economic potential of territory is equal 12. Factors that determine the development of the economic potential of the territory is 4. And factors that hinder the development of the economic potential of the territory is 17. Thus, the condition is met, and then the check is made wherever there is enough information to make a conclusion. Since according to the conditions described earlier that AEFP is more than 37, there is enough information to make a decision on the assessment of the economic development potential of the territorial community. The results of the assessment of the economic development potential of a territorial community is VP, which means large potential, which consists with a conclusion made manually by employees of the relevant departments. Thus, according to the experiment, it can be concluded that the Horodok territorial community is an investment attractive area of sustainable dynamic development with developed industry. It is an environment of rest and recreation with a high level of living comfort and meeting the social and cultural needs of residents. Thus, the factors that influence the assessment of the economic potential of a territorial community are interrelated and form a complex system with emergent properties, since any recombination of them strengthening or weakening the intensity of factor, introducing a new component, or eliminating a previously exciting one can have a dramatic and even unpredictable impact on the level of economic potential of an object, change its specialization, or the need to establish new economic ties. To date, no decision support system have been developed in Ukraine to assess the economic development potential of all territorial communities. All processes of information and assessment are carried out manually using SWOT analysis. The results are also evaluated manually, which can lead to unreliable and sometimes inaccurate assessment, as the economic environment is quite volatile under the influence of external factors. If new factors affecting the economic potential change or emerge, the entire process of building a SWOT matrix need to be started anew, as a conclusion need to be formed anew. This leads to increased workload for employees and additional time and resources. In addition, unreliable assessment of the economic development potential of territorial communities can lead to significant economic losses, as stakeholders may decide based on the proposed assessment to finance an unpromising community or not to pay enough attention to strengthening certain factors of development of a promising community. The task is providing automated decision-making support in this area is becoming increasingly relevant as information burden on employees who form and study economic potential of factor increases. As a result of the conducted research, a decision support system has been proposed that will take into account all available factors, grouping them according to the degree of influence on the assessment of economic potential, providing a conclusion on the sufficiency or insufficiency of information for assessing the potential of economic development of territorial community. The prospect of further research is to expand the capabilities of the proposed system. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, dear Alina. Dear colleagues, questions, please.
May some question. Which knowledge representation model did you use?
We proposed the concept of decision support system, and we used the rules of artificial neural networks.
Thank you.
More questions, please. And I have one question about what is the practical significance of your research?
We consider that the system makes it possible to automatically evaluate the sufficiency of information for making conclusions, as well as to form a conclusion about the assessment of the level of economic potential of the territorial community.
Thank you. More questions, please? No more questions. Thank you, dear Alina.
Thank you.
This is last presentation for this part of session first. And now we have a coffee break. I propose to switch off your microphones and cameras, but now leave this meeting and walk after coffee break. So meet at 12 to continue our section session.